This is the hour. Right now. We have the power. Right now. No more lies. This is the moment.
All right, and up here at the top left hand of the map, a player who recently left his team, it is Killer.
There he is. He was really disappointed with the loss on the first map, and he is really determined to get back into code as his opponent starting at the bottom left of Taler Malta. In the blue color, it is
GuMiho.
another Protoss versus a Terran, and the scout for Killer left his base already. That's an
And
early.
he's going to arrive at GuMiho's base first, luckily.
Yeah.
Another important game for Killer.
Hello there, Sailor. GuMiho spotted on the first occasion, and that probe is ready for some action.
Certainly is. Yeah, Killer, I mean, you know, he still hasn't faced Tassadar, which is going to be a tough match for him. He's very good PvT. He wants to win these games versus Terran when he can. He's down 0-1. Very important game for Killer in this situation. Again, if you go down 0-2, oh, is he going to get it? Oh! That is a probe that
Nice
says
one.
kills 1.
That's a hero right there.
No, Hero's not in this group. This is Killer. Wrong Protoss. Keldo just gave me a look like, oh, you shut up already. Probe is still chasing SCVs around.
I have to compare every one of your jokes to the Ma joke, and that one is really hard to beat, so it just doesn't compare. Yeah, that was brilliant.
That's not how you pronounce MMA? Ma.
No, but we could.
Well, with all the harassment that Killer's been doing with this probe, he's been getting himself a tiny little lead. He's getting his core going. Tech Lab is being planted down for GuMiho as well. Might see a Reaper. Nope, there's the concussive shell and the Marauder, actually.
If you pronounce MMA moi, what do you do with DRG? Drk.
What? DRG?
Moi against
Durg?
Drk.
Durg. So I'd say. I pronounce it Dongregu.
Oh, that's just cheating. That's boring. That's boring. Let's focus back on StarCraft.
What about MVP?
Could you stop making that sound?
All right. He is actually stockpiling, what are they called? Marauders. Bulgom, Fire Bears as they're called in the Korean client. Oh, but is this Zealot gonna get in and find out? He's trying to kite it with that Marine. Forced to reveal those Marauders, and they're gonna slow that Zealot down. He's never getting away.
Yeah, and look at that follow-up. That Stalker is like, whoa, I have to go home.
Oh yeah, that Stalker is not want to stick around there. Immediately,
What's
2 more
the time?
gateways planted down.
Time to go home.
Yeah. 2 more gateways immediately planted for Killer. He knows that he might be a little bit of pressure, under some pressure here rather. And GuMiho's actually just going to expand off it now that his little gambit's been exposed.
Killer nearly finished his warp gate tech, and he's getting the first sentry. He will be ready for this, and the expansion of Killer will be very, very late. He canceled it. Didn't he build a Nexus?
What's that?
Killer canceled his Nexus, didn't he? He was building one.
Oh, I didn't see that he was building one, but I'm not surprised that he canceled it since he saw the Marauders coming out. He saw concussive shells. He didn't know if there was a hidden second barracks with a reactor on it or something like that. And so I'm not surprised. Oh, did he see that expansion? I don't think he did. Oh, he did. Okay, he did see that expansion. So now he can relax a little bit, be like, okay, I can get my Nexus back up. I don't have to worry about some kind of crazy 2 racks rush right now.
He would have been able to defend that. Well,
well, he didn't know if there was another barracks. That's the thing. He probably would have been able to defend it, but he didn't know he could.
yeah, but now he knows, and he will be like, ah, damn, I probably could have held it off anyways.
Yeah.
Because that just means that Terran player is a little bit ahead when it comes down to the second base, and he already finished his command center, so he can start the orbital upgrade.
Yeah, very smart decision making by GuMiho to kind of throw his opponent off like that.
Killer is ahead when it comes down to the worker count with a 30 to 24. getting the robotics right away for the Observer. Stim is being researched now by the Terran player in the blue. GuMiho also is getting additional add-ons. This barracks is NS factory, and he's in a pretty good position. He just needs to retreat. That's a little bit too much pressure for GuMiho right now. He has the Marauders with a concussive shell, but taking on that Protoss army would have been asking for too much though.
Yep. And I was wondering if he's gonna use that tech lab for the factory. He is indeed going to do so. He's researching siege tech right now and making a single medevac off of that starport instead of switching it over to get the reactor. Just wants to get a little bit of everything out. Sometimes Terrans will go straight for siege tanks and lots of bio. Sometimes they'll go for double medevacs, but he's splitting his gas between medevacs and siege tanks. Actually, he hasn't even made a tank yet. He's just getting siege mode first.
Especially on Tal'Daram Altar, there are a couple of good positions at your opponent's natural expansion where you can siege up with tanks in a very decent spot. So going for tanks is something that is definitely a good option on Tal'Daram Altar. And I think that's exactly what GuMiho is trying to do. We'll see him move out with those tanks and trying to get that spot at the natural.
Oh, and the Observer is barely going to miss this drop. A medevac going up the left side of the map. It's going to head towards Killer's main base. It's got 4 Marauders in it, which could do a fairly good job of taking out, maybe if they can drop in the right spot, take out a critical tech structure, or may just get a couple pylons or something like that. Yeah, he's got nothing in the back of his base right now.
GuMiho's on 68 supply now, Killer on 67, and the Protoss player that recently left Team GSL is now researching extended thermalance, getting the first Colossus, while GuMiho is going for an attack and kills a bunch
for the
of
probe.
monsters, killing like 5 or 6 of them,
He
7.
can go for the Robo. He doesn't realize that the Robo is so exposed, though. He probably could have gotten that. And instead takes out a pylon in addition to several probes. Oh, he's going to get another pylon over here. And even the warping pylon, and he's going to lift up and not lose a single unit. Beautiful play by GuMiho.
That attack was awesome. He took out 3 pylons, 7 probes, and at the same time forced to cancel on more pylons as well. So, but nah, he doesn't pay attention at all. Oh, that is huge.
No! That was such a great drop. He lost nothing, and then he lost everything because of a little bit of sloppiness. Nice move by Killer to put those Stalkers in that spot. But a little bit sloppy of GuMiho to not paying attention to that medevac as it was flying back.
Killer will be quite happy about that. He lost so much stuff back there, so killing that drop at least gives him a slight edge. And thinking about what he actually lost for Marauders and the medevac, that trade went in favor of Killer. He didn't lose tech.
Killer's now putting some pressure on here. He's got the Colossus out. He wants to try and prod. There is a siege tank out, and it's in position where he can't get too close. Might need to reposition that siege tank, but Killer, even with... Does he have Thermal Lance on those Colossus, actually?
He does.
He does. So even with the Thermal Lance... Sorry, Thermal Lance Colossus. I know you think you've got a long range, but there's still one unit in the game that has a longer range than you, and it's sitting right there in GuMiho's natural waiting to shell you.
Range does matter.
Yes, it does. Another siege tank popping out as well. Very interesting. We don't often see siege tanks deployed in Terran versus Protoss, but it's nice to have, especially as a defensive positional thing. And he's now going to move out with those siege tanks, a couple Vikings as well. And here's the thing, usually you get Vikings to deal with the Colossus, but if you can position your army correctly, and if you can target down those Colossus with the siege tanks, it can be very effective. It's going to be difficult. He doesn't have a ton of siege tanks, though.
GuMiho is now just moving out with his army, and he's getting more siege tanks. We have 3 Colossi, though, and only 3 Vikings to take care of them. Killer has a 55 army supply against 80, by the way. He is behind in supply by a fair amount. And now GuMiho trying to get into the position to siege up his tanks. That's exactly what he does right now, trying to get a good hold onto the natural expansion of Killer. The Protoss didn't finish his +1/+1 attack and armor upgrade, and not the charge upgrade either.
Now, when we do see tanks in PvT, it is often in this situation on this map, because of the construction of this map, you can shell from the low ground like we see GuMiho doing. Killer a little bit reluctant to engage, even though there's not a ton of things protecting those tanks, actually. He went in with his Colossus. Here he is going in. He's going to send in the Colossus. The Vikings are there. Stalkers attacking the Vikings. Does take out the first siege tank. The Bio stems in, but the Colossus are getting major damage on the Marines.
One Colossus is dead so far. He's able to save 3 of them though. Killer 91 supply against 127. And we still have 2 tanks at the bottom of that cliff, obliterating that pylon on the high ground.
Now he's been spending so much money on the tanks and the Vikings though that he only has the 1 medevac in the air, and he's actually going to come in and snipe the one of those tanks. Only 1 tank is left on that low ground. A second one coming in just as I say that, but with that 1 medevac, only thing healing his army, GuMiho's Bio is actually very injured, having taken a lot of splash damage from those Colossus.
But
if there's a major battle, the Colossus will chew through them very quickly.
He's losing the Stalkers though. He's trying to reinforce, but the Stalkers are the only thing that stand behind between the Vikings and the Colossi, and another Colossi bites the dust, so that is really a problem for Killer right now. He needs more anti-air units.
Yeah, he's trying to decide if he wants more anti-air, more anti-ground. The Vikings are going after yet another Colossus. The Stalker's taking him out. The siege tank goes down as well.
But all the Stalkers are getting a lot of hits by the siege tanks. Finally, he's able to deal with that threat, and the last few surviving Stalkers are taking down more Vikings. Killer is defending that very well, but GuMiho is already on 134.5 supply against 101. He's pulling way ahead now.
Yeah, that was clutch killing off those siege tanks though, because that really slows things down. It gives Killer a few, few seconds at least of breathing room until the siege tanks arrive again. And now he can start poking away at these defenses, but loses a Colossus to those Vikings.
That's just a losing battle for Killer right there. Every time he tries to engage the Vikings, the siege tanks at the high ground are targeting down the Stalkers, and he's losing his anti-air. And he is so far behind when it comes down to the Harvesters. He's on 45 against 60 SCVs, and obviously we have the Mules as well. So Killer in that position is just losing ground to GuMiho, who is pulling farther ahead, taking a 3rd base right now. Really a tough spot for the Protoss player.
And those bunkers are just going to make it even more difficult for Killer to get out of this. He looks like, he might go around the side and try and come from 2 angles for one last breakout. Nope, never mind, chickened out, came back, regrouped.
The first Archon in his army now to tank some damage as well. There are no ghosts for GuMiho just yet, researching the +1 armor. In regards to upgrades, Killer is actually ahead, but supply-wise, he is behind with 45 supply, and that is quite something, especially with the economy that GuMiho has to back this up.
And it looks like he might try and go down the ramp here. Zealots are clumped up, take massive hits from the siege tanks. The Vikings are going in. Stalkers trying to take out the Vikings, but there's not enough of them. Bunkers go down, but there's so much Bio charging in.
Way too many.
Everything gets destroyed.
Units die of Killer. He loses all his Colossi, and Killer will lose that game as well. GuMiho taking care of the last round of Warp in Zealots, focusing down every single one of them. His Bio army is enough to kill the remaining units of Killer. And there's the GG.
There's the GG.
Killer is down 2 games in this group. GuMiho takes another win on his way to Kodak.
GuMiho muttering to himself. It almost looked like he was angry there the way he was muttering, but he actually is a 2-0 in this group, so he's in a really strong position. Killer, he is all but eliminated now from this group. An 0-2 situation is so hard to come back from. It's going to be really tough for him to get back into this. He's going to have to win 3 games in a row, basically, and hope that 3-2 is a good enough record to advance.
Yep, that's really disappointing for Killer right now.
Yeah, but a nice little attack by GuMiho, using the architecture of the map to his advantage, going for the siege tanks on the low ground. And I like the fact that he added in the Vikings. He wasn't just going for Bio with siege tanks, added in the Vikings so that there was an additional level of micro necessary for Killer. It was the kind of back and forth of the Stalkers versus the Vikings, the siege tanks versus the Stalkers, the Colossus coming in trying to kill off the siege tanks, then the Vikings trying to kill Colossus. Everything interacting in a lot of different intricate ways, and so both players had to really keep track of all their units at different times. But the positioning was just too good for GuMiho in the end.
The Vikings were also pretty necessary, and just to give him the vision on the high ground so that he could actually target the units down with
Yes, indeed.
with his siege tanks at the bottom. But Killer, the problem for Killer as well was that he didn't only struggle to take that army down, but he was so far behind in Harvesters that the longer the game dragged on, the bigger the advantage of GuMiho actually got, because he just could produce additional units, he could get those upgrades, he could get a third as well, which is exactly what he did at the end.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into another 5-minute break. We'll be back with the next round of matches in just a few. This is the GSL up and down matches. Don't go anywhere.
Go watch that video I tweeted.